computer. All right. Hey, it's our second last chapter. Thank you guys for still being here. I thought for sure with how cold it was, we would have people that would be like, well, I ain't going anywhere anyway.
Oh, Diana, I love that. Yes, we did walk to school in that weather. You're right.
Of course.
That was a long time ago. Thank you.
Of course you did. Minus 35 wind chill. Yeah. I went to open even my dog was, I don't know if my dog was on the same weather network as I was, because he got all excited about going outside this morning and he's been very hesitant to go outside last couple of days. He must have had his hopes up too, because I opened the door and he started to go out. It's like he stopped and he was like, outside. Mom, you told me it was going to be nice out. Yeah. Minus 42 wind chill. I don't know what the wind chill is here.
I don't want to know. I only know what the temperature is.
Oh, it's balmy. It's not even minus 40 yet.
There we go.
It's all perspective. Nolan said he went out the other day. He's like, it was like minus 29. He's like, minus a bazillion wind chill. He's like, I didn't have gloves on. My jacket was unzipped. I had my toque on. He's like, and I thought, that's not that bad out here. He said, it's so bad.
That's because he was hidden somewhere so the wind didn't get at him for just a few seconds.
Oh no, he was on the highway. He's like, I think I have lost my mind.
Yep.
Oh, the law of explosive growth. I loved this chapter. Loved it. So loved it. To add growth, lead followers. To multiply, lead leaders. Oh,
I'm actually really curious as we start. We've had, what, 2 weeks? 2 weeks? It's actually 3 weeks since we've had a session. And I'm actually really curious to know, through that time period, which laws came to people's minds as life went on.
As in, which laws did you have to execute over the holidays with your family? Is that the better question is that the question you're asking us?
What I'm actually saying. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Goodness. And it's interesting. For me, that law of timing is always one that I think about. It's everyday kind of thing. I mean, from trying to have all the food ready at the same time for a meal to the right time to ask the question.
My turkey was not involved in the law of time.
No, your turkey didn't know the law of timing.
My turkey needed better timing. Yeah. My turkey tech needed to understand the law of timing.
Yes.
One job, make sure the turkey stays on.
That's just a thought, Janelle. Just a thought.
You know what? Actually, that piece of it, I did really well with. I did not flip out. But I don't know that that's a law. I'm trying to figure out what law that would have been. But maybe it was the law of navigation.
That might be even modeling.
Maybe.
Setting that good example for your kids.
My kids had no idea what was going on. They got to the table. They're like, what? No turkey, no gravy, no what? Welcome to what's been happening in the house over the last, however many hours. But I'm glad we just kind of flowed through it. It's fine. If anybody didn't know what I'm talking about, my turkey did not cook for Christmas dinner. And my husband discovered it with about an hour left of cooking a 5-hour bird. And he goes, could we speed this up? I'm like, no, unless you have a deep fryer, no. So thank goodness I had the bandwidth when I was planning to make a ham also with the turkey. So we had a ham and everything else. Anybody else use any of the laws?
I'm curious. Jimmy's unmuted. Jimmy, are you there? Are you ready to answer?
It may have just been an oops.
Hello.
Hi, do you have an answer for us?
No, I don't. I was thinking just about, sorry, guys, I just took my dog out and getting myself ready here. I think the biggest thing that over the holidays that I thought about, and not necessarily that it was so much about encompassing all the things, all the laws that we've been taking, right? But just kind of listening to people where they're at in life and how things are going, and then listening to how people respond to why they're not where they want to be, or what's going on, and how things kind of got out of hand, or whatever things that were that were talked about, right? And so, I think all encompassing, I think, thinking back to what we've been learning from the beginning, it just, your mind sort of, you don't say it outright to them, but you're like, oh yes, this would have to do with this law, or this would have to do with, right? So I think that's what something that came up to me, that I think when we start doing things like this, where we're looking at excuse me, we're looking at growth in our mindset and how we see the world, it really does right, our perspective, and how the conversations that we have, or the conversation, things that people tell us, you start kind of looking at things differently than what maybe you did before, right? And that's something that I find really interesting. So I don't know what law this is, but last night we ran out of gas, and so I'm sure there's a law that we can come up with. We were out for my son's birthday, and we were out in nowhere land, nowhere to get gas. So CA had to come pick us up. So we didn't get home till late after, way after midnight. So anyway, so yeah, you guys can pick that one apart for a second while I, sorry, mix up my slim.
I was actually going to say that what you were talking about before was definitely the law of timing. When to lead is as important as what to do and where to go. So you were listening and giving people space and trying to figure out when to lead and where to go. Perhaps where to go would have been the gas station.
I think the running out of gas is easy law of navigation, Jimmy. That's an oops.
Yep.
Oh, and Diana said the law of connection was hers. Leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand.
Amy, were you going to say one a few minutes ago? Were you going to say something?
Was that a passive shake of the head? Oh, there she is.
It was more like, I guess that means I'm supposed to, right? More of a, well, that shifting of expectations, and repetitively like going, okay, something else must be going on, because I'm pretty sure we just read that in the chat, and now you're putting it there again. And didn't somebody just say that? And you're putting it there again. And it's a fairly easy one to step back from, to review that, but how to help that person even see that, or not, to leave it alone, as it will clear itself out as time goes on, and we don't need to address this and create an issue out of a non-issue.
I think that's, yeah, for me, that realization that some things are a non-issue, and it's like your kid having a little bit of a meltdown. When they're through it, they'll come and sort out what's the next step. Anybody else? So the law of explosive growth. So Janelle, your favorite law, tell us about that.
I like this. I really, really love this. And I mean, he just illustrates so beautifully what happens when a person has the right vision with the right people to execute the right actions to create massive impact, right? And when I look at his illustration about equip, I'm like, wow, that is so similar to what we want to do.
Yeah.
We want to find leaders, and then we want to equip those leaders to go out and build leaders. And then we want to equip those leaders to go out and build more leaders, right? And it's interesting when he was talking about how leaders are hard to find. And then when they're hard to find, they don't necessarily want to come and do what you want them to do, because the good leaders already have their own great ideas and they're independent. It's interesting, right? Because they look for systems and they look for all of those things, but each personality would speak to different types of systems. And then they don't necessarily want to come and fall in line with what you're doing. They want to go do their own thing. So the question then becomes, how does a person set things up well so that you can serve that group of people and be like, hey, here's what you need, fly, right? And something that I thought was so important to look at for me is he said something like 10% of people don't need a strong leader ahead of them, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the number was. But basically that most people need someone to follow in order to do the thing, right? And we could talk about how that 10% or that whatever it is, the percentage, the small percentage of people that don't need the strong leader, those are going to be like your Brooke Hemingway and your Emily Gibson and your, but they also attract strong leaders, right? So you just need to have the right navigational tools there to sort of point them in the right direction, be like, okay, here's the framework. Now go do something cool. And then you get to work with everybody else who needs a strong leader to follow. I don't know. I think that this chapter could have totally just been written for us.
It absolutely could have been. And I did like those, and I'm just trying to see if I can find those percentages.
It's 10, natural gifting. Oh, hold on. No, hold on. See, and I don't have my book is up. My book is upstairs, but my workbook is here, and I don't know if it's actually in.
So I just found it. So he said the results were natural gifting, 10%. Result of a crisis, 5%. But influence of another leader, 85%. And it's interesting because you mentioned Emily Gibson, and that I find that so interesting. As I get to know her, I see that she probably would never have reached the pinnacle she has without the influence of another leader. Yes, she has natural gifting. Yes, she's developed her skills. Yes, she's grown in herself, all the things. But without that influence of another leader. And so I find that really interesting. Go ahead.
However, she was, or I don't think she does it anymore, but if you guys have followed her for a while, she actually was a TV personality. Like she would do cooking spots on whatever, Good Morning Utah or something. It's a relatively large network TV spot that she would come in and do these things. And you just think like, you got to be pretty driven in order to go after something like that, right? I think the interesting piece about it is when you add in, okay, sorry, we're going to just dissect Emily here. When you add in the fact that, yes, she did come alongside Brooke Hemingway and they are good partners is sort of what I see. Like I see the two of them together, partnering together and being able to amplify their results in general. But she then chose to go to Brooke Castillo and get training from her to level up even further. And so I think that sometimes, yeah, you can be a super strong leader, but then you also identify the fact that you could be even stronger. Because I mean, we've all seen those people who are like, I can do it my own way. I don't need to follow anybody. I can just do it myself. And then they just seriously don't follow anybody. But I think that the diamonds in the rough are the people who have natural leadership gifting and understand the necessity to follow other strong leaders. And then they go and seek them out if they're not placed directly in their path.
I think it's interesting because I think we sometimes have the impression that we can be all to everyone. And that's a huge fallacy. But the bigger part of the fallacy is that one leader can be all to us, or one mentor, or one teacher. I mean, if you think about any training you took, any schooling you took, yes, one teacher may be awesome, but it's the combination of different teachers, different styles, different perspectives that really develops the depth and breadth of your growth. And it comes back to a little bit of what Jimmy said right in the very beginning, to become aware and recognize different people's situations, their current needs, where they're at, and think of strategies or ways that you could offer them support. And I think that's where he talks about, I mean, developing followers is so much easier. Followers are more like herding animals, you know, they tend to stay together. They tend to like to connect with each other. They tend to like to, you know, do all the things. But developing leaders is a little bit more like, well, might say herding cats. They're all going, cats,
or squirrels.
Or squirrels. They're all going their own direction. They've all got an idea. They've all got a good idea. And this is the bigger challenge. They've all got good ideas. But the prioritization of which idea and getting everybody kind of into an alignment of let's go for this idea now, because the minute you can do that, you've got an incredible powerhouse of activity and movement.
Somebody who does that really well. Oh, sorry, Amy, go ahead. You go. I'll keep my thought.
Well, I do want you to finish that thought, but the herding cats reminded me that followers don't challenge the leader. They follow. Leaders challenge the leader.
You're all very challenging.
But yes, why are we doing that? Shouldn't we do this? I think this would be a good idea. Like, yes, we are a problem.
That's good. This is a good problem to have. You're a dreamboat of problems. You know? What I was going to say is somebody who does that really well, who gets leaders organized and going in the right directions. Sherry Harbage, brilliant at orchestrating people and getting people to go the right way. Super soft spoken. Does not rule with an iron fist. But
so what kind of skills and strategies does she use?
And the funny thing, and I will say this, the funny thing is she'll tell you that she really struggles with that. So it has not been a natural talent. It has been something she has developed. And anytime I tell her that, she's like, thank you. She's like, I'm trying. It's not something that comes easy. I don't like, do you really think so? Like, she doesn't see it. And I'm like, you can make a group of people go a particular way. She has a really great vision for all of the pockets that need to be done. It's very interesting. And then I think the other thing is that she asks. I don't think that she does a lot of asking of people. And so when she does ask people, they're like, oh, I could do that.
Actually, that comes back to raising kids, which we talk about often here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask a child 100 times a day to do something, they're probably less likely to do it than if you only ask once. If you only asked a child once a day to do something. Only once. I'm only going to ask you to do one thing today. And this is the one thing for today.
Well, it's clarity, right? Simple steps. And that is probably it with her, because she does really well at raising really little kids. And she probably simplifies the steps so that people remember what they're supposed to do and they're super clear on where they're going.
Yeah.
I'm super interested. Like, I would love for him to go into more detail on how he recruited US leaders to pay for their way and to put money and time into creating the whatchamacallit, like the actual materials, and then the time to actually do the training or whatever. I'm like, I would love to hear how that conversation went. Hey, Bob, I've got this great idea. You're going to buy a plane ticket to South Africa.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they're there, like we talked about the law of buy-in earlier, and the what's in it for me. So somehow in his description of this chapter, he didn't identify what was in it or what each of those leaders felt was in it for them, whether it was the prestige or the, yes, Amy.
It's really funny because my answer is so much simpler than that, Janelle. He picked leaders from companies that had businesses in those places. So the guy is going there for business anyway. He's going to be there. He wants more leaders in that country because his business will increase. His ability to hire those leaders will increase. If you make more leaders in the government, your ability to function as a business in that country is easier and smoother because your government has leadership ability. So your business will increase. Yes, this will take 2 days out of your schedule, but you are already in that country anyhow. And we're just going to coordinate like 5 or 10 people to be in the same country at the same time. And we can schedule that months in advance. He only did it twice a year. He already has the network of people who he knows which countries and which businesses really need leaders in that country to step up in all of those facets.
I must have missed that piece because
And in the book,
in my head.
Yeah, that's her head.
that's your head.
This
Well,
is
I
her
like
head.
your head. Like that makes sense to me too.
Yeah, this is her head. But in the book, page 254, he describes it. And this is where her head comes from. And I know this because she's my daughter. But the very first, he says, every strategy was the same. Connect with key influential leaders in organizations already working with people locally and enlist their assistance. So that's the conversation about businesses that were already in those countries, businesses where they already had connections. And then he was actually asking those leaders to identify the cities in their country in which to do the training and host the training events. So that was buy-in. Where do you need more leaders? Where would your company benefit from more leaders? What would that look like? And then he relied on those key leaders to recruit leaders to attend the training. So he gave them the authority to bring in people that they wanted to train as leaders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where their buy-in and the what's in it for them came through. And it's a different way of thinking about it. And it's like Jimmy says, oh man, I got to do that. Yeah, I'm with you, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm. I really think this is interesting in the workbook anyway, on page 215. It's where he starts to outline leaders who attract followers need to be needed. Leaders who develop leaders want to be succeeded. Leaders who attract followers develop the bottom 20%. Leaders who develop leaders develop the top 20%. And his comment about they know that if they develop the best will help the rest. I'm like, yes, they will. Leaders who attract followers focus on weaknesses. Leaders who develop leaders focus on strengths. Leaders who attract followers treat everyone the same. Leaders who develop leaders treat individuals differently. And that one, I mean, they've got a couple more here, but Sherry, you and I were talking about that, treating people differently versus treating everybody the same. It's a tough line to walk, because when we do events or training or whatever, part of our heart goes, but we want everyone who wants to do it to be to have this available to them. It would be so good. It would, whatever. And you think back, like however many moons ago with Biz, if you didn't sponsor at least one person the month before, you weren't allowed to come on this special diamond training that was going to exist. So you were going to want to do that, right? Just like Leaders Retreat. If you don't sponsor 3 personal new retailer VIP customers, you don't qualify. It doesn't matter how many credits you have. You don't qualify, right? So you have to do something in order to get somewhere. So you can't treat everyone the same when you want to develop leaders. You have to set the bar so that people will come to that level and be like, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to go, right? And doesn't mean that the people that don't meet that expectation can't become leaders. Their priorities just maybe aren't in line, or maybe they're in a different season, or maybe they need a different type of help that can be done in a blanket like form instead of that higher level training. But yeah, it's hard to exclude people, but it ends up being good.
I think this is where I have lots of challenges. It's like, do an event, well, it should be open to everyone. I want it to be open to everyone. And yet I know the value of a gold and above event, a ruby and above event, a event with a different focus. And yet it's interesting. I find it a huge challenge to create an event and limit the attendance by whatever strategy, it is.
But you look at that dinner that you and I went to in Edmonton with Sheila Medina and Kristen and whatever, right? We wouldn't have had the same experience. Even so, that room was really big. Like there was a lot of people there. But even so, like it would have been a totally different event had we had more people. You wouldn't have been able to ask the question, or you know what I mean? Like, and it did feel very special, right?
Yeah.
Winner's dinner. Ooh.
Yeah.
You feel special. And I think that's where, with society the way that it is, and everyone gets a participation medal and whatever else, that can kind of cloud our minds, because we want everyone to feel special, right? We don't want people to not feel special, but you should still be rewarded for your work, and that's okay. And it's okay to say, this is the level of work that I'm being rewarded for, and look at my friend who's being rewarded for this level of work that they're doing. I'm so happy for them.
I love all this chapter, but I think, as me, there's so many things going through my head right now, but the thing that I think I struggle the most with is I have people on my team that work so hard, and I want them to sit at the table with me, wherever that is, right? And I just want them to be there. And so if I could change the rules, I would be the person that would be like, but you can come and sit with me because you work so hard, right? Like that's how everything in my life, like, but you work so hard, so you should be able to, right? And that's where it, I want everybody to have a seat at the table, but I also want people, but I don't want just, how am I trying to put this? I want everybody to be there, but I also know that the element of growth and my words aren't coming out right this morning. I'm still getting myself together here, but just the impact it makes at as a leader, as when I see my girls, what they're doing and their growth, and they may be, and I say this all the time, you may be at the status of, it may say beside your name you're gold, but really in my mind and in my eyes I see you as a diamond, because you're working, you're working so hard, or you're doing these things, or you're trying to, right? I see your value, I see where you could get to, I see that, and so it's I'm just trying to think of which one. Anyways, I don't know where I was going with that, but I try to, I guess, as a leader, I want to focus on people's strengths, and I want to be able to help them to get to that next level, right? And they may just not be there yet. It may not show, Ruby, but man, are they ever working hard. And I just want them to sit at the table, at the Ruby table with me. I want to open the doors wide, right, for them to be there. But yeah, I love this chapter. I think it's such a, timely right now, as in January, right? And as we look forward at what we want to see for this next year for our team, and how do we want to be, what kind of leader do we want to be, right? And every person that's on this screen right now, you guys are all leaders. Like, I don't like, Diana and Linda. Yeah. What I think, are both of you guys, I don't know, you're gold. I don't even know, but you guys are leaders, and you're major leaders on this team, right? Don't think, and Amy, like, are you senior gold? I don't even know. Where are you at? Again, major, right? You guys are, like, you are leaders, right? And we put ourselves in these boxes. Well, I'm not there yet. I'm not at Janelle's status, or I'm not at Sherry's status. But you guys, your influence is huge on this team. Like, you have to know that. Really, it is. And so I think this is an important, really important chapter. So anyways, and then Linda goes, oh, there she is.
And I think that it's good for people to have like a taste of what can be had. So for example, they're opening up our Jewel calls to paid as senior Ruby and above portion, right? Just for a seat at the table. They won't be there for the whole time. Not everything will be disclosed to them, but they will get a taste of it. They'll have to sign the NDA, and then they will get to see what it's like to be at that Jewel table. Yeah, Amy.
It's interesting because that's one that obviously I haven't gotten to go to all the things. I didn't get to go to the black tie when everybody else got to go to the black tie. But it also reminded me that the discussion at the table is different depending on who's sitting at the table. And we have us here sitting at the table. The discussion is different than if I brought in my 16-year-old and Jimmy brought in her 18-year-old. We want them to see this. We want them to get here, but they're not here. They're not. They're coming, but the discussion changes that little bit. And that's why at winner's dinner, when you're allowed to bring a guest, it is very influential for that guest. And it is seeing that, and it is amazing, but you still have to have your ratio at that. This is the level discussion. the diamond discussion. And let me tell you, I would love to be ears on the wall in some of those talks. And like you're saying, senior rubies now can attend, but those discussions need to happen at that level so that we can all keep going. And it's even smaller than that, like in our families. Yes, we discuss things with our kids, sometimes with the grandkids, but there's some discussions that can't take place with their ears so that we can get our ducks in a row and so that we can melt down without them seeing that.
So true. And you know what, there are those conversations that are had at that level. The meltdowns are a different level. They're over different, sometimes they're about different things. Sometimes you look at them and you go, wow, that's a silver meltdown right there. Okay. Because not everybody, depending on, like, just because you're at a diamond level doesn't mean that you're at a leadership level that should be a diamond. Sometimes I have to talk to my 15-year-old like I talk to a 5-year-old though. Yeah, no, Diana. She said, you don't talk to a 5-year-old the same way you talk to a 14-year-old. Sometimes it's the other way.
I was going to say, I was that when I went to the Emerald Extravaganza, I spent a lot of time just my ears open and just sitting there. I seriously felt like a silver is sitting at the table with, you know, like some of these diamonds that have been like, you know, triple diamonds and stuff. And you're just like, you know, you're just trying to just soak it in, just learning, just like, you know, and but you're right. There are things that I'm still not ready to hear, and I'm still not ready. I'm not at that level, and that's okay. That's okay, you know. And you know, there's things that, yeah, each of us, right? We're just there's stuff that you're not going to discuss with a silver, right? From a ruby level, right? We want people to be at that table. I love that, Amy. We want them to get bits and pieces and learn and whatever. But not everything is going to be wide open, right? And I know sometimes I forget that, right? And here's a good example that I know I've done this, and right, and Janelle has reminded us, putting something in the silver chat that is not for silver discussion or doesn't, right? It just brings up the right. That's a gold, or we have, I think we have a gold and above or something. Anyways,
we have a gold, we have a senior gold, we have all
right.
the things.
So then according to which rate, and we have to be mindful of that. I forget, you know, I'm just and then, oh, this is going to raise some blood pressure if I put this in here. Okay, we skip on. Put it in the right place.
So proud. I've been like, I'm having a teary moment. This actually is working. It's in the right place.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really good point, Jimmy Lou, because and Amy's description of it is, for me, provides incredible clarity. The conversation between two adults is not the same conversation that you have if you've got your two 15-year-olds at the table. And it's not that you don't want them to know. It's not that the information won't at some point be appropriate for them, but it's not appropriate when you're sorting through things. And so the example of which chat to put things in is perfect, but it also clarifies for me and reinforces the reason why certain events are for certain levels, or for certain levels of leadership, or for those that have demonstrated that they want that level of understanding.
Yeah. Totally. I like this. Sorry, I wanted just to add this one in here because there's a couple others, but leaders who attract followers impact only people they touch. Leaders who develop leaders impact people beyond their reach. And I think that that's all of our goal, is to impact people beyond our reach, right? In a positive way. And that really speaks to one plexus, right? It doesn't matter if this person isn't on my team. If I can be positively impactful to them, mindful of time, but positively impactful to them, I want to do that. It's not a, this is just my team and this is right. I mean, we see it played out, right? Sonia Dudley, where would we be without Helen McFadden and Sonia Dudley? Where would we be without Brittany Howard and Christina Williams and Fallon Rabe and, you know, Abby Kappa, and like, where would we be? And it's tough because now in the kind of season that we're in with social and all of those things, we do have people who are monetizing their content. However, I don't think that that's wrong, because all of those people have something that anybody has access to for free.
And I think historically, because you just said, be mindful of your time, they couldn't provide time to offer that without monetization to the world. They have value, and their special skills have value, and monetization is an indicator of that value. So,
and them knowing their value.
And the other thing, we're thinking about which things we say at the table with our kids, but the other piece is, if our kids only have us at the table, only parents at the table, they get a very narrow view of the world. And if they're offered that opportunity to be at the table and listen to another group of people, it broadens their perspective. So I think that is a key piece of how our business operates as well, is our inclusion of the people we've invited to our table. If we can invite them to a larger table, I think there's huge value in that. Will they always agree and be aligned with what they hear? No, they're not going to be. That's okay. But some of them will be more aligned with what they hear there than what they hear from us as leaders individually. And that's really, really valuable. So in terms of developing leaders, that's part of that difficulty of keeping them all collected, is the different ideas, the different things that they're offering. And it's the huge value for us as an individual when we're looking upward and seeing that we can gather bits and pieces from different leaders.
That's actually a huge reason why I chose to stop homeschooling and move our children into Regina, because I saw the value in the leadership, just the leadership that was at the school that we're in, and the development of leaders, right? I always laugh because the old homeschool adage is, if you want your children to learn to stand in a line, have more kids. And I'm not having any more. But you can only lead your siblings and yourself to a certain extent. Now, I know that there are extenuating circumstances. People choose to homeschool, and I have no issue with that at all. However, this was a piece. And so I still say the We Life School, and sending them to a private education center is part of our life schooling, because they are being stretched in different leadership ways. And it was funny because Lucas and I were just talking about how our school is, it's like busting at the seams. I think we are full. We're like 550 kids from pre-K to high school. We're full. We don't have any more space. And I know that they have plans drawn up, architectural drawings, to expand the school. And so I just made the comment, I'm like, I wonder if there will ever be a time when the high school is taken out of the elementary school and it's just one building for elementary and one building for high school. And his comment was very interesting. He said, but Mom, part of what makes RCS so special is when the high schoolers get to go and help with the younger kids. And they do. Like, they have these days where the high schoolers come down and do crafts with the younger kids, or we have gym days where some of the high schoolers come and they organize things in with the elementary, or they're helping out doing this or that or whatever. And they really work to integrate. Actually, they have a Cubs basketball thing where they have the high schoolers come and coach little kids doing basketball so that they learn how to coach and lead. And that was one of the huge things that I loved about the school. And I'm like, wow, your insight of what is special about this is the leadership piece. And I love that you still want to be connected there instead of thinking, yeah, it would be really great if we'd have our own space and then, you know, we don't need to hang out with the Rugrats, right? But they see value in it. So that was interesting.
And I think, you know, bringing it back to this chapter, that's the value we see in developing new leaders who are just learning how this all works in alongside of leaders who have been involved for a period of time.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were just talking about golds, like about like helping people who are at the level of maybe not having a lot of leaders underneath them. Go start like Linda, take your people, go do an event. You, Linda, lead an event. Go find a few of your people and go do that. Now, we're not saying, Linda, you are on an island all to yourself and you are now going to go and lead an event and here you go. Bon voyage, right? But yeah, I think it's so important because like, I remember as a gold leading events and finding people and being like, I know you don't want to share, but you've got a great story. And it would be so valuable if you would just like, let me help you do this. Could you? Right. And maybe you have a couple friends that you'd be okay, like just kind of coming out of the plexus closet for like just maybe 5, and you want to have them come and hear the stories. That would be really great. Right. And that's where we choose impact over, there's balance, right? We don't want to trick people into becoming leaders, but we do want them to be connectors, right? If they don't want to be leaders, that's okay. But you need to make a decision in your business. If you're like, I'm okay if you were just a connector and you introduce me to your people and I can then help create something there.
So just so you do know, Janelle, Linda is leading an event right now.
That's awesome. I love that you've got a page. I love that you've got things going on. But yeah, I'm talking like in front of the broader team. Bigger stage.
One step at a time, right, Linda?
Yep. I'm good. I'm good with it. I'm just, Linda knows I like to use her as an example.
I think it always starts with, and that's why probably the book is designed the way it is. This is coming later for many reasons, right? And like you say, many people don't see themselves as leaders, and yet we lead just as a mother. We're leaders, right? And there are times, so many times that we just we don't even think about it, the things that we're doing, and people are watching, right? Our children are watching, other people are watching, right? Where we want to downplay, well, I'm not really a leader. You know, like we do those things, and we know there's things that need to be built up within us in order to recognize we're all leading something at some point. So if we're doing that, we do need to recognize that and then start being proactive in how we're doing that, or rate our influence on other people. I had over the Christmas, spending some time with family. Some of my family knows an individual from Medicine Hat and they're friends. And when they found out that I was their auntie, this individual was like, what? You know Jimmy Lou Board? So they were teasing me a lot over, you know Jimmy Lou? Like, yeah, that's my auntie. What? Like, she's like, you know, and so I got teased lots about that over like Jimmy Lou, you know, and whatever. But like, we don't understand our reach sometimes. Like we just don't understand our reach. And that's scary.
I can't wait until you guys all get like back down to convention or something like that, because walking with Sherry and having her be recognized was probably one of the highlights of my Plexus career. I'm like, could I get a selfie with you? I'm like, I will take the picture. I will take the picture. You have no idea. You just know her because she's the Joyome lady. You just wait to hear what comes out of her mouth. Like, honestly,
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that way. But I honest to goodness, like I can't say that enough, is that these faces that are on here, Linda, the fact that you show up, that's leader. Like I know that, you know, you're just sometimes I don't know what's going on in your head, but you are showing up. That is such a huge, you know, Amy, Diana, you guys, like your moment will come. I know it will, right? Where you will be recognized for what you are doing, right? This is, I know that it's the trenches that we are in on a daily basis. It just sometimes it feels like, does it really matter, right? Doesn't matter what I'm doing and, you know, the steps I'm taking and the leadership that I'm trying, right? Does it really matter? It does. It does. People are watching, right? They are. And you know, I love that. So I wish we had more that were part of this, but
Oh,
yeah.
come on. We have this many people after 20 weeks. I think we're doing pretty darn good. Guys, did anybody see this? Doesn't it look fairly familiar? The whole tree, right?
Yep.
When I turned the page and I saw that, I was like, yep, that's exactly what we do. That is exactly what we do. No, I can't wait until we get back to being together again. And with the things that you guys have all been involved in, unlike what Jimmy Lou was talking about, the reach, right? Like, oh, I can't believe I finally get to meet you in person. I feel, you know, it's so exciting. And then you'll have the weird things where people are like, you get a message from this person and they're like, I think I just saw you standing over by the bathrooms, but I was too afraid to come over and say hello. And you're like, what? Right? Or then you meet Fallon or someone and you totally put your foot in your mouth and you sit on the toilet and have to text her and tell her that you are not a psychopath. Like I did. I pray that she forgets that. It's fine. It's all fine. Anyway, the law of explosive growth. I think we could talk about this forever, but I'm so excited that next week is the law of the legacy because it's going to set us up so well for our Super Saturday. Jimmy, I don't know if you watched the video yet in the Jewel group, but oh my word, I'm so excited for what is being announced. And I was kind of teasing Sherry a little bit with some of the information yesterday. I did not tell her, but there is something that is being announced that I want you guys to understand is it's big for the company, but even though it's big and might be projected to higher levels than where you are, it is relevant for a silver. It is relevant for a senior silver. It is relevant for a gold. This is patterning our company to truly step into legacy business. And so I love that we are the law of the legacy next because it's just going to be perfect.
So I think just on a time frame, then we will actually talk about the law of the legacy on the 22nd.
Oh, right.
On the 15th.
Sorry, it'll be on the end because here I was thinking that we were at Tuesday morning and it's a Saturday, isn't it?
We're Saturday. Actually Saturday today.
What day is it? It doesn't matter what day it is because I'm going to do my work and I got my children at home and it doesn't matter.
So we do not have book study on Super Saturday, but we will have book study on the 22nd and it will be the law of the legacy. And then on the 29th, we will talk about the laws that have affected us the most, what has been our takeaways from the last 21 weeks of studying this book, where we've grown, what we see, and maybe what we see in others too. So,
and then we're starting out the 5 levels.
Yeah.
The other thing that we need to tell you too, though, is that there is another book study that's happening in Team Awesome. If you have time in your schedule and you want to come to that study, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't handle 2 books at once. Well, here's the thing. If you do Audible, I'm just saying, if you do Audible and you are following the concept of 20 minutes of personal growth a day, you can listen to both of those things at the same time. Now, maybe your rule book, not like at once, but like maybe on Mondays you listen to one and maybe on Tuesdays you listen to the other one. Not
I just want to say I'm really relieved, because I thought, you know what? If to become a jewel, I have to be able to listen to 2 Audible books at the same time and actually make sense of this, I got a long way to go.
My dad decided to try to watch Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings at the same time, literally on 2 screens. He had them both going. He had some really funky questions about Gandalf and like the wizarding world of Harry Potter. And it was hilarious. He was like, so let me get this straight. And Lucas is like, no, we need to go back. Anyway.
Okay, I feel better.
But like our graphic says, come as you are to all of our book studies, because I do truly feel that even if you haven't read the actual material, which is like best practice, if you haven't read the material, you still can get something out of either book study. So the book that is going to be done broadly in Team Awesome is called Grit. Sherry has it. Mine should be coming today.
I got an e version and I am loving it. Yeah.
That was something that was decided on by the jewels in Team Awesome. Yes, Amy.
And I have it on Scrib, but one of the other comments was that they Googled it and there's a YouTube version, so it's totally free to listen to it. And it's very good. I'm like, oh, I can do this. And I'm on chapter 4 and I'm like, oh, I think I better stop at 1 chapter at a time and think for a day or so.
Let me think for a moment. Let me process all of the things. We will let you guys know where to read to when we make the decision.
Yes, for our first week. Yeah. So now just get the book or get whatever version, whether you're going to do Audible or e-reader or book or whatever works for you. Just, get your version. And then we don't exactly have our schedule worked out. So
because it's such a different book. It's not like here are all of you, like we can't get through 1 level a week.
No.
We might get through like the downside of 1, because there's always the downside, and then best behaviors. And it's just such a great book. And I mean, I actually really love having a book like this, because I look back at, like, obviously I've highlighted and I've written at different times. And so this time I will try to use a different color highlighter and a different color pen. And, it's almost like a journal for growth as you go through it, because you'll go through it more than once. This is one of these, like, I don't want to compare it to the Bible. That's not what I'm doing, but it is a living book. It lives and changes with you because you are living and changing, and it's applicable regardless of where you're at in life, in business, in your journey. So
I'm kind of suspecting that the first time we go through it, the first day will just be up to page 37, which is just all the information before we start talking about level 1.
Yes.
The assessment and the evaluation and the description and all of those things. So
all of the things. Yep. Get ready to have your toes stepped on. That's all I'm going to say. Because my toes are already ready. Come step on me. All right, guys.
So can I just, when does it start again?
February.
February.
The first week in February, the 5th.
The 5th.
Okay. So hopefully we might as well discuss this right now, but I'm thinking we really need to drum this up, and I'm thinking for my own team, I'm going to do like a book giveaway or something like that, just to kind of get the excitement going of like, hey, you can win this book, Amazon gift card, whatever. And just to get people like, okay, we got to get this book in hand so that everybody, maybe right now, you know what, like now is the time I don't know if anybody whatever has the book, maybe does anybody have the book? If we took a picture with the book right now, and then we could put that on, like in Leaders Lounge, like get your book. We start, next book club. We start such and such a time. Who has their book? I've got my book too. Hold on. Okay, hold on.
Linda says it's upstairs.
Linda's got a book. Amy, do you have your book?
Linda, go run.
Run, Linda.
Okay, I'm stopping the recording.